Long before the United States became a nation, its land was home to diverse indigenous cultures. The oldest evidence of human presence in the US dates back over 15,000 years, with the Clovis people, named after archaeological sites in New Mexico. These early inhabitants were skilled hunters and gatherers, relying on mammoths and other megafauna for survival. Around 12,000 years ago, as the Ice Age ended, the landscape changed dramatically. Indigenous tribes adapted, developing unique cultures across the continent. The ancestral Puebloans, for example, built intricate cliff dwellings in the southwest, while the Mississippian culture constructed massive earthwork mounds in the Midwest. One of the oldest known settlements in the US is Cahokia, near present-day St. Louis. At its peak around 1050 to 1200 AD, it was larger than medieval London, with a population of up to 20,000 people. The city featured a grand plaza, ceremonial mounds, and a complex society. These ancient cultures laid the foundation for the rich tapestry of Native American tribes encountered by European explorers centuries later. Their legacy lives on in the land, stories, and traditions that continue to shape the US today. The story of the United States took a dramatic turn with the arrival of European explorers in the late 15th century. Christopher Columbus's 1492 voyage, funded by Spain, marked the beginning of European exploration in the Americas. While Columbus never set foot on what is now the US, his journey opened the door for others. In 1513, Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de León landed on the coast of Florida, becoming the first European to explore the mainland of the present-day US. He named the land La Florida and claimed it for Spain. Over the next century, the Spanish established settlements like St. Augustine in 1565, the oldest continuously inhabited European-founded city in the US. Meanwhile, other European powers began to take interest. In 1607, the English established their first permanent settlement at Jamestown, Virginia. Despite harsh conditions, starvation, and conflict with Native Americans, Jamestown survived, laying the groundwork for future English colonies. In 1620, the Pilgrims arrived aboard the Mayflower, settling in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Seeking religious freedom, they formed a peaceful relationship with the Wampanoag tribe, celebrated today as the first Thanksgiving. These early European settlements were just the beginning of a complex and often tragic history of colonization, conflict, and cultural exchange. Stay tuned for part 3, where we delve into the road to independence and the birth of a new nation. By the mid-18th century, the American colonies were thriving, but tensions with Britain were growing. The British government imposed heavy taxes, like the Stamp Act of 1765 and the Tea Act of 1773, to pay for wars and maintain control over the colonies. Colonists, who had no representation in Parliament, protested with slogans like "No taxation without representation." The Boston Tea Party of 1773 became a defining moment. Colonists disguised as Native Americans dumped 342 chests of British tea into Boston Harbor to protest the Tea Act. In response, Britain passed the Intolerable Acts, further fueling resentment. In 1775, the American Revolutionary War began with the battles of Lexington and Concord. The Continental Congress appointed George Washington as commander of the Continental Army. On July 4, 1776, the colonies declared independence with the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, primarily written by Thomas Jefferson. The war lasted until 1783, when the Treaty of Paris was signed, officially recognizing the United States as an independent nation. The new country faced challenges in forming a government, leading to the drafting of the U.S. Constitution in 1787 and the Bill of Rights in 1791. This hard-fought independence marked the birth of the United States, a nation built on ideals of freedom, democracy, and self-governance. Thanks for joining us on this journey through America's oldest history on The Past Unfolded.